Morning, team. Welcome to our first virtual quarters. Unfortunately, we're not able to do this in person as much as I was looking forward to checking out interesting grooming standards. I've always enjoyed that. Unfortunately, we don't get to do that due to the restrictions that are in place. But we do have a growing agenda that we need to address, and there's some important information we need to put out. So I appreciate your attention. And without further ado, we'll get on to the awards. I'll read the names of the individuals who receive an award. Those will be presented in a smaller forum in your departments to maintain the current guidelines we have in regards to social distancing and COVID restrictions. Receiving a Navy Commendation Medal is Lieutenant Commander Turner and MA1 Logue. Receiving a Navy Achievement Medal, AC2 Brigman, AC2 Paget, AC2 Ryder, CS2 Freeman, MA2 Peterson, MA2 Sickler, and ET3 Rose. Receiving letters of commendation, MA2 Charles, MA3 Hamlin. Moving on to the second quarter of fiscal year 20 Sailors of the Quarter. Your Blue Jacket of the Quarter is MA3 Wells. Your Junior Sailor of the Quarter is MA2 Sickler. And your Sailor of the Quarter is AC1 Griffin.
Congratulations to all the awardees. I will say for the record here, this is my first virtual quarters. Maybe hopefully my last. We'll get back to ops normal before too long. But congratulations to the awardees. Congratulations to the Sailors of the Quarter. Tight competition as always, and well deserved to everybody who did not to pick it up this quarter. Just stay after it. Your time will come. I want to take a minute to just talk about two awards, our Navy Commendation awards. First to Petty Officer Logue. This shipmate, well deserving of the award, fell into his role and matured in that role at a time when it was absolutely critical for the command. Security Department was facing challenges to include our final evaluation problem and our ultimate security assessment. And to summarize, Petty Officer Logue was an absolute critical team member that pushed us across the finish line and helped us to achieve that certification. And just from the deck plates up, built the foundation for what we have now in security. And so, BZ, shipmate, appreciate the work you've done for the command. Best of luck to you going forward. Also to Lieutenant Commander Turner, our Public Works Officer, the other JT, really is only one. Lieutenant Commander Turner and I basically paralleled one another the entire time that I've been here. He's been the Public Works Officer. He has done an outstanding job, well deserving of the award, up for selection to Commander here shortly, and I'm confident that he will be selected for that promotion. Another guy, you want to talk about building it from the ground up. You know, we're on board an installation that was born just post World War II. A lot of the infrastructure that we, the Navy, as the executive agent, have inherited is aged, and there's been a whole lot of work done, highlighted by a $15.5 million infrastructure complete upgrade to the airfield. Our number one mission out there, the aviation operations, has all new lighting and signage, and is as modern as it comes in terms of the infrastructure. Really, and on and on and on. The list is too long. Another significant accomplishment on his watch is the electrical distribution for the base. When we took the watch here some 3 years ago, the electrical distribution was suffering. There was no duplication in it, and so in a lot of parts there were single points of failure, and all of the duplication across the board has been restored. and our failure rates for electrical distribution and power distribution on the base are back up to near 100%. So heading over to Poland for a 1-year tour of duty, over to a NATO base in Europe, and I wish you the best of luck moving forward. Thanks for your efforts here to the command, Commander Turner. Okay, one final piece in terms of awards that I want to announce as I prepare for my own departure out of here. One award that I want to call out at this time, the timing is right, goes to Mr. Dave Atkins. This award is a Civilian Service Commendation Medal. The Morale, Welfare, and Recreation Department has been one of the highlights of the entire time that I've been here in command. The accomplishments that Mr. Atkins has made under his watch, and again, almost simultaneous the last 3 years tour of duty here, have just been phenomenal. A definite bright spot for the command, improving quality of life for all hands, for sailors, soldiers, airmen, Marines, and our dependents, along with our retirement community, veteran community. So Dave Atkins, I appreciate all your efforts. I think it's safe to announce that Dave will be leaving us in the relative short term. He's been selected for a position with Mid-South over in Millington, Tennessee, and so Dave will leave what he's accomplished here and move on to do similar positive things there for Mid-South. So Dave, thanks for your service, and I'll be over to deliver this award to you before you leave. Okay, next thing I think we have on tap here is the Master Chief's, sorry. Good to go. All right, back to the exo.
All right, so now we're on to the really cool part, the Shipmates shout-outs, BZs, hard chargers. This first one is written really interestingly, so I will summarize the narrative, but it is from VR59, and it's really cool. It's to AC2 West, AC3 Fit, Sergeant Grubaugh, AC3 Cobble, and AC2 Struve. So on Monday, the 4th of May, about a month ago, the tower stayed open for 15 minutes after scheduled field closure. It might not seem like a big deal to the tower personnel. It's an extra 15 minutes, but it was huge for the crew of a returning C-40, and we'll get to that. The C-40 was coming in. They were flying the final leg of a 6-leg day. That's about 14 hours worth of crew day. And they were anticipating landing at 23:10, which is 10 minutes after field closure. So they had planned for a closed field landing in those procedures. As they approached the Metroplex from the west, they noticed pretty severe weather on the radar 20 miles north of Navy Fort Worth, moving south, so towards the airfield. So now they're concerned about coordinating with hard stand while flying near the severe weather. So the co-pilot called the tower to coordinate that and ensure that everything would be in place for their after-hours closed field landing. When they called the tower said, "Hey, no big deal. We'll stay open until you guys land," and the crew accepted. Now, why this is important is because on downwind for the ILS shooting the approach, the weather was about 5 miles north. So the crew requested, a procedure where they're vectored around some of that weather to intercept the final approach course to land at the field here. As they started to do that, the crew experienced moderate turbulence, which in aviation terms, moderate is actually pretty bad. And it caused the automation to be disconnected, and that definitely task saturated that crew. They had no extra time on the flight deck for tasks that they would have had to perform if they were doing a true closed field landing. The aircraft landed safely at approximately 23:10, really thanks to the team effort. And from the CO at VR59, please accept sincerest gratitude from the Lone Stars of VR59, Bravo Zulu. Congratulations, team. I have also a list of volunteers. The list is extensive, but we did have a team from NAS JRB Fort Worth volunteer at a food bank, and we received a letter from them, and I'd like to read that. It's addressed to Master Chief Store. Dear Master Chief Store, special thanks to you for your support and the volunteers from NAS JRB Fort Worth who participated in the Lake Worth Mobile Food Pantry event Wednesday, April 29th. In coordination with the Tarrant Area Food Bank, this event provided a vital service to families in the Lake Worth community during the COVID-19 crisis. During a 3-hour window, the mobile pantry provided more than 400 families, 1,700 plus people, with 24,000 pounds. I'll say that again, 12 tons of fresh produce, dairy, and meat. These chiefs and petty officers were vital to this event's success, arriving early to set up and offload 18 pallets of fresh and frozen food. During the event, they unpacked boxes, sorted items, loaded carts, and delivered groceries to clients' vehicles. Their assistance was invaluable, and their special dedication to this community is greatly appreciated. Awesome job. So I have a list of hard chargers I'll read now. For pivot and conducting change of command property audit, we have Mr. Jolly from the fire department, YN1 Ramsey from admin, Ms. Zwetzig from security, Ms. Childs from PAO, ET1 Lusk from ops, and BM1 Bolanos from the galley. Awesome job. I also, and although they would probably blush to hear this, really bravo Zulu to Lieutenant Commander Burton and 81 Maurer. They spent a decent amount of their off time. They volunteered to come in and help mow the airfield when we lost our contract support for that in that capacity, which really was crucial to maintaining operations on this base safely for sure. Okay, so we're moving into the hail and farewell section. MC1, you're not going to insert like a laugh track or anything, right? Okay, cool. Because I mean, I've really enjoyed not being heckled, and I just want to make sure I'm not going to get punked here in the editing because there are some names I just hope I get right. So the list is kind of long. Awesome. So the list of names, I'll just go right down the list. Lieutenant Commander Doyle, Public Works. Senior Chief Flores, Security. Chief Sanabia, Ops. Chief Lyle, Ops. AC1 Radijak. AC2 Ariga. AC2 O'Neill. AC2 Pedregon, ET2 Bellflower, CS2 Bibbs, CS2 Bonner, AC3 Paget, ACAN Blackman, ACAN Evans, ACAN Miller, ACAA Ames, and CSSA Burnley. Okay, so now we're moving into the farewells. I'm really disappointed we're not going to have that interaction where I can actually ask the questions that I normally do, because I think we would get some really cool responses. And it's kind of sad, and I like to welcome them off in the way we do when we can. So leaving us, Lieutenant Commander Turner, Senior Chief Escalante, Chief Pelham, MA1 Logue, AC2 Brigman, AC2 Ryder, MA2 Pedersen, MA2 Sickler, MA3 Hamlin, and ET3 Rose. You guys will be missed. CMC?
Thanks, XO. Good morning, everybody. I want to take just a couple minutes to address a number of topics today. First, I just want to say thank you to all the people that volunteered for the food banks outside the fence lines. I'm truly grateful for those efforts, helping those communities that are hit hardest by this pandemic. Second, to add to the stresses that we already face with COVID-19, now there's another considerable challenge outside of our fence lines since the death of George Floyd. Our communities are protesting this horrific incident, but I want to be clear about our responsibilities in uniform, and those include members of the armed forces are prohibited from participating in off-post demonstrations under these following circumstances: while they're on duty, anytime you're in a foreign country, activities that constitute a breach of law and order, anytime violence is likely to occur, and anytime that you're in uniform. So another topic that I quickly want to cover is Sailor 360. The program's kind of coming online right now. Last Friday you saw the first newsletter go out to all hands discussing self-care and care of others. And over the last 2 years we've made tremendous strides in destructive behaviors and curtailing those and fighting that fight. And I just want to say thanks to the JEA, First Class Petty Officers Association, the CPOA on the base, as well as Fleet and Family to combat destructive behavior. So thank you for all that you do. The last thing that I want to say before I get into some questions for the skipper is we've got 3 damn fine Americans leaving us very soon. ATC Chief Pelham over at the T-Line, Master Chief Williams, and of course Skipper Townsend leaving us next month. So I just want to say, just take a quick moment to say thank you for everything that you've done for NAS Fort Worth, as well as the Navy over your careers. So, and we wish you the traditional fair winds and following seas. All right, so last thing I'll get into is last week, Skipper, as you know, I sent some spies out to the deck plates since we're in this restricted time, and I just have some pointed questions that I kind of wanted you to touch on that I got from the deck plates last week. The first question is, how much longer do you see the COVID-19 social distancing and mask requirements lasting?
Okay, so I think the answer that we'll find, the common theme amongst all these questions related to COVID is patience is warranted here. I think we've been very patient, strategically patient here with working through these challenges and the impacts to our normal daily lives. Most of us are type A's, want to be out there doing things and staying busy. So I appreciate the patience that everybody has exercised. How much longer is it going to be? I've talked with some of you, been into security and done captain's calls. We'll be going out, Master Chief and I will be going out to operations this week to get some face-to-face or mask-to-mask time with you all. I think the answer is largely boils down to it depends. We here in this Naval Air Station in Tarrant County in northern Texas are evaluating our own environment. Department of Defense, many of you have heard that the Secretary of Defense has put out a memo beginning to ease restrictions on movement. We've increased our local area now to be defined as 150 miles from the base. The it depends part is, and SecDef's guidance brings the decision down to installation commanders for any branch of service. And so the reason that I think he did that is because geography matters. This Naval Air Station in North Texas has a particular environment here in Tarrant County and the surrounding counties that matter to answer the question of when can we ease our restrictions. And so we'll be looking at that as a lot of civilian municipalities and the towns and cities surrounding the base have opened up. We are playing a wait and see game to determine what that opening up, and as people begin to go to restaurants and do more social public things that we haven't had for the last month or more, it is important that we see what the effects, what the impacts are, and as we kind of know, about a 2-week period is what determines what we're going to see. So we are waiting to find out, is there going to be a resurgence? Is there going to be a spike? We have a standard that needs to be higher. We need to protect the mission within the fence line. We've done a phenomenal job so far with that, and so we'll wait and see, and we will begin to ease restrictions and take the masks off as we see that it's warranted and safe to do so.
Second question I got from the Deckplates is, what do you think getting back to work full time, what do you think that process will look like for NAS Fort Worth?
Okay, trying to hit this one concisely. The Chief Staff Officer, Commander Nilsson, has a matrix that's been provided, a return to work matrix. Some of you have seen it. Department heads are tasked with evaluating their own situations, coming up with their own tailored plan depending on what the work environment looks like, how close people need to be, whether people are in individual offices or can be, whether we can effectively social distance. So the tasker is out for each department to determine what the deliberate plan is going to be to get back to work, because it is important. We've encouraged the teleworking and allowing people to stay home as much as possible, care for their families, and do work at the same time. But it's important that we start moving in the direction of people being physically present at work. Most position descriptions do require that, and so as we get back to near normal, we're going to be moving back in that direction.
All right, thanks, Skipper. Third question is, when can we expect MWR facilities to reopen, specifically the gym, the bowling alley, the 10 Grill, Single Sailors Lounge, and outdoor rec?
Okay, so the priority for us is to support the mission. The first step in supporting that priority is to get those back to work that haven't been directly in support of the mission. Most of our tenant commands have come up with their own practices and policies for work. A lot of folks have been home that will need to return. So we're going to do things in priority order. Probably the first priority is childcare on the base. To have folks coming back to work will require them getting the needed childcare. And so for the most of us that have it here on the base, that's an MWR program. We'll get the CDC, and as we get into the summer months here, school-aged care and the summer camps in place so that folks can be at work without concern. And then we'll move on down the list in priority order. So a lot of the things Master Chief just mentioned are recreation oriented, are quality of life types of things, and they're important. But we'll do that with a deliberate plan to mitigate risks. So the 10 Grill, I know, is a popular spot. We lack food options on this base and diversity there. We'll make it a priority. We have talked with MWR about reopening and having takeout to begin with, takeout only, rather than dine in. And then we'll move down the list. Having the gym open is important to a lot of folks. It's also a mission support function. So we'll be looking at how we can do that and mitigate risk. The pool would be in the same category. Really all of those recreation services kind of lump into the same category. And so we'll just be tasking the department heads, MWR director, with coming up with how are we going to do it as we make the argument. The decision ultimately to reopen these things is not at my level, but the job of making the argument, making the case that it will be safe to do so is our responsibility. So that's where we're at now, is working on that reopening matrix. We'll push that forward and turn the light green and get on with it.
Thanks, Skipper. Last question I have is, when can we expect the travel restrictions to be lifted, and are families included in those restrictions?
Okay, so you see a gradual thing. I mentioned the local area has increased to 150 miles now. We know that across Department of Defense that the stop movement is through 30 June. There's some discretion being given to us locally, and there are waivers. There's a waiver process for anybody who needs movement inside of that restriction. And we've been very successful at advocating for sailors to get movement. Families are an interesting topic. I'm having to make decisions about my family as my son has graduated from high school and wants to go and do his summer job and then is planning to move on to college in Florida in the fall. We've got logistics, and I know everybody does. So there's some discretion here, and good judgment does matter for this. For personal travel, for our dependents and family members, there's discretion involved. It does impact us as sailors, and one of the bits of guidance that I want to read has to do with our dependents, and it states all personnel should follow federal, state, and local direction, as well as direction from the chain of command. So what I would ask for is for disclosure, for transparency about what our family members are doing, decisions about whether we as in uniform need to ROM or have restrictions in our own existence will come down to some discretion. If you've got your own close personal family members, people that you reside with, who make a travel to an area that is of higher risk, let's be transparent about that information. Let's have a discussion about what's warranted and what's prudent. And as I read to you, local, federal, state, and local direction does matter as well. So we'll take all those things into consideration.
So Skipper, just so you're aware, I have a laundry list of questions beyond these questions that I'll intend to answer through the Chief's Mess as well as Sailor 360 program.
All right,
sir.
Sounds good. Okay, well, we'll close things out here with final comments. Again, I want to say thanks to everybody for your deliberate measures in mitigating this risk. We've been successful. The numbers on the installation have been very low, and that is a result of our efforts of hunkering down, doing what was asked and told of us, and so it's a success story. Let's keep it that way. As I said before, we will be deliberate in our plan to come back to as near normal as we can. We will take our time with it, take the opportunity, to get a new perspective. Our environment has changed a good bit, and we can benefit from those changes. As the Master Chief mentioned, very tumultuous time outside of our gates right now, and we all need to just, to have proper perspective. The uniform that we wear and the service that we perform, and I'll include our civilian brothers and sisters, thankfully in our environment is done without regard for race, religion, gender, sexual preference. We get after the mission at hand, and so let's not take that for granted, because it is a troubling time outside of the fence line. Okay, last thing I want to just touch on real quick, as mentioned, thanks Master Chief for your farewell comments there. I will be preparing for a transition and change of command. We will not be having a large change of command ceremony, but we will effect change of command in a virtual way. We'll probably do it in this office. Myself and Captain McLean will take over. My target date for that is 15 July. He will be reporting down here on 13 July. I'll give him a couple of days. He's done a lot of turnover. We've been doing virtual turnover, and we'll continue to do that. And I will plan on turning over the torch to him on 15 July and moving on. I will be moving back up to Washington, D.C., where I'll be the Chief of Staff for the Chief of the Navy Reserve. For you all here in the command, I will just tell you very simply that this tour for me, this command tour, and to serve alongside all of you has been a blessing of my life and my career. So thank you all for what you do, and again, I won't leave without saying goodbye, and we'll make available to all of you the change of command when we do that. So for now, that's it. Stay safe and stay healthy. Thanks.